made it.
Again.
We tried this live first time, Brandon, and I think the powers that be, the Zuckerbergs and more, did not want our wealth building secrets to be exposed. So apparently, what we're trying to do here is going to revolutionize the world, or at least the people watching. If you found this link, you've come to the right place.
You better pay attention.
That's right.
Yeah, and right now, apparently, you can't see me anymore either. I don't even know what's happening. But it shows green.
Had his power cut off by the CIA, and we need tinfoil hats, Evan. If you don't have yours, get yours quick.
I'll get it. Yeah, give me a second.
So as you guys look at the notes, we're talking about savings, right? And apparently, I need somebody to save my laptop.
Yeah, or save up for a new one, right?
Something. Mm-hmm. So as you guys are joining, I know you didn't see us here. I know Julia's not in the waiting room anymore. Probably all kinds of stuff. But anyway, now she's here, I think. Today we wanted to talk about the savings problem. Is it better to put in a tin can? Is it better to, I don't know, put it under a mattress? What do you guys think?
Okay, so let's kind of set the stage a little bit here as Brandon's getting things set up. Thanks, Brandon, for setting everything up here and helping put the tin can together, right? The string and the tin cans. See the connection we're making here. So we have a major update to give folks. This is post-pandemic rebound. Economy is open again. And yet, in 2023, Americans set a record for the most hardship withdrawals ever taken out of a 401k. They were up to 3.6% out of the 5 million retirement accounts that are administered in the United States. That's up from 2.8% in just a year previous, okay? And pre-pandemic average was 2%. So we've almost doubled the number of people who are snagging money out of their 401ks as a hardship withdrawal. Now, anybody here, maybe or maybe not, can anyone tell me what are some of the reasons? There you go, Brandon. Hey, all right. They got the lights back on over there in Ohio. So what are some options, or I guess provisions for when you can pull a hardship withdrawal out of your 401k? Anybody want to take a stab at that?
I know.
How
Lose
about
a job?
Disability, loss of job, death apparently lets you get your money out. So
that's good.
Yeah. Any other examples of folks who can look up, like what is, or has anyone listening, if you found our link, anybody tell us a story of a hardship withdrawal? What are the options for getting a hardship withdrawal out of a 401k?
Yeah, I think
I know
covered it. Disability, loss of job. There's a few more probably, but.
Yep.
I know one of my clients, they couldn't even find their 401ks when they needed it. Basically, it was correlated to somebody else's Social Security. So they couldn't even pull that out for a hardship because it was in somebody else's account, apparently.
Yikes.
That was weird. So,
you can do medical expenses. Yep.
Yeah, medical. What else?
You can do a principal purchase for a principal residence. So when you're making a down payment on a house, up to 10 grand typically is the number, if I remember right. If you have funeral expenses, I guess the government's finally kind enough to let you have a little bit of your own money after you die.
Wow.
So tuition and education, again, up to a certain limit, you can take money out. So again, that's the hardship withdrawals. Now, what percentage of 401ks take withdrawals every year? I'm curious about that because, again, those are the hardship withdrawals. Now, many people pull money out of their 401k without the hardship provisions. Remember, the hardship provisions help you, I guess, avoid the early 10% penalty. So, you can pull.
Yeah.
It says here, one recent study shows 1 in 7 Americans now has a loan against their 401k. 1 in 7 Americans.
Wow.
Okay, so we can talk about the dramatically high cost of borrowing against your 401k. In fact, I feel like it's one of the worst traps middle-class America can fall into, is to borrow against your 401k, and we can talk
Yeah.
about why. But what does this mean? It means folks don't have much saved. So back to Brandon's point, you've got I guess a statistics out showing that we don't have a whole lot of money set aside for the rainy day. And the big point of our life today is the importance of liquidity and access to capital. Evan, give us some feedback on some of those statistics.
Man, I do find it interesting that a lot of people are wanting to pull their money out. It just, is it only because of hardship, or are they just trying to find some sort of workaround because they realize maybe the 401k is not what it is cracked up to be? Because there's also other, I would be curious to hear some statistics too, if you have any, on the eligible withdrawals that is not hardship, related, because there's that too.
Yeah.
I bet that percentage might be even more, have increased even more.
Yeah, you're right. So, I don't have the statistic there, but if someone wants to find it while we're live, that'd be awesome. So I can find 1 in 7 Americans now have a loan against their 401k, which is a form of withdrawal. And we have a doubling of the hardship. So folks are in a hardship spot in this great economy, apparently. We now have twice as many people taking hardship withdrawals. Something doesn't add up there, in my opinion.
I wonder if it has anything to do with just like tremendous amounts of debt, because one of the reasons that you can take a hardship, loan or hardship withdrawal is to avoid eviction or foreclosure. I don't know that it's people doing home repairs or, updates to their houses necessarily.
Yeah, we've hit record high credit card debts in this country. Student loans are still at an all-time high. Mortgage interest rates have more than doubled since pre-pandemic levels. Job insecurity is as high as ever. There's all these great job numbers, but if you do a little digging on those job reports that come out weekly and everything, they oftentimes show that people are getting several part-time jobs. So again, does that connote a good economy? When people are having to get multiple part-time jobs, is that a sign of health, that people are having to scrape people don't typically want to be working 3 or 4 jobs. You want one job so you can relax on the weekends and that sort of thing. But more and more people are tracking bigger and bigger expenses at the grocery store, or the bigger and bigger expenses at the gas pump, and so they've got to cover it somehow with extra jobs. Brandon. Brandon looks like he's really thinking about something, or frozen. I can't tell which one. So sorry, Brandon. Evan, do you want to give any other thought to? Oh, Brandon's back. Brandon, did you want to add anything there? You were frozen there for a minute.
Yeah. One of the things I've been thinking about is we've been taught to risk, no reward, right? We've been taught put all into this thing. And again, I think and we've said this many times before, right? And I think that's where a lot of younger people are saying, wait a second, I've been putting money into this thing that I don't even want. And they're forced even to put into, I was talking to somebody the other day, they're like, I was just automatically enrolled into this thing that I don't want. Now, sometimes I believe that it's important to pre-decide, right? For us, we need to have pre-decisions. However, I don't want somebody else pre-deciding, I guess, that it should go into Wall Street's hands. I wish that I could have enough faith in people to say, yeah, we're going to be fiscally responsible with our when we save. That's kind of why I like life insurance. But the reason that we've put it into Wall Street is because they say, oh well, I don't want the risk, but we still need to make sure that you're saving, and we can blame you if things didn't work out.
Right. Yep.
You meaning the person.
And Wall Street's up right now, right?
401k.
I mean, so, one idea might be that, hey, we're just seeing that our life is in trauma. We're under hardship, and oh wait, the market is high. I might as well take some money out of that 401k to cover the medical expense I just had, or I got to cover this other expense for kids' college because that tuition is coming due, and that sort of thing. So could be that's why the hardships are up, but primarily I would just say, let's just state the obvious, the elephant in the room. We don't save as a country. We're short-term thinkers for the most part. We need long-term mindsets, but we've traded our long-term mindset for the happy feeling of the debt payments that came with that flat screen TV, or more likely the groceries that are costing more that we're having to charge on the credit card. And you're
I
right.
think about that with, remember that old Homer Simpson, eating vodka and mayonnaise, and he's like, what about future you? And he's like, well, sucks for that guy.
Sucks for that guy.
Yeah, and I'm totally. Like, that's the reason that the 401k may have been created, was because we need to have forced savings because we're not that, I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's actually a really good segue into this thought experiment that our common kind of collaborator and mentor, Tim Austin, came up with. Let me kind of read to you these notes here from a presentation that Tim Austin gave, because let me set the stage a minute. When I meet with clients, and you guys probably can verify this, oftentimes the underlying message, they maybe don't say it in quite so many words, but the underlying message, as we're having advisory consultations with them, and as we're kind of learning about their financial situation, I'll notice that folks are saying things like this. Hey, Mark, I cannot save very much of my income. Bills are high, kids need soccer practice, whatever the excuse, right? They're not giving me enough raises at work. I can't save enough to meet my financial goals. So I need to put more into risky speculative instruments and hope my rate of return will be higher. So save less volume, get more rate. That's the prevailing notion. Save less volume, get more rate. What rate of what? Rate of return. Save less volume of money. I'll put $100 into my 401k and hope for a 30% rate of return, than to put $1,000 into a tin can and get a 0 rate of return. So let's do the thought experiment, right? Let's talk through this idea of a tin can. So this is coming from Tim Austin. He says, if we met 15 years ago and you asked me how to save money, let's say, for example, you have $300 a month you could save, and you had 3 different options. I gave you 3 different options. You got $300 in your pocket every month that you can save. I give you 3 different savings vehicle. You can put $100 a month into each bucket. You had one rule. You cannot withdraw any money from one of the accounts for 15 years. The other 2 accounts, whatever they were, you could use whenever you had an emergency or an opportunity. So here are the 3 options, right? You got a tin can, which only lets you put money into it. You can never get the money out. There's like little barbed wires. You can't pull the money back out. You can only stick it in there. $100 a month for 15 years. Savings account, which you can get access to. Maybe it gives you 1 or 2 or 5% rate of return. And then third, a mutual fund. Again, you could cash that mutual fund out whenever you need it. What rate of return do you guys think each of these accounts on average would give you? Evan, Brandon, what do you guys think? For the tin can, obviously that's going to be 0%. What do you guys suggest for the savings account and for the mutual fund?
I'd say savings, it could be a pretty generous 3% or so, give or take.
And unfortunately, I know sometimes the math, and it's so hard to come into that saying, "Oh, it's going to be this," because I know too much about averages. Averages don't mean anything. So, I mean, I could say, hey, average rate of return in the market, it's going to be 20, 12. I don't know. 12 is, what Dave says. So I'm going to go with 12.
12. All right. Yeah. Yeah. It could be 15, could be 8, who knows, but give yourself a good, solid quote average rate of return. And let's find out, right? Let's find out which way is the better way. So over 15 years, again, one of these options you can't touch. The other two you can. One's going to be a steady rate of return of 3%. The other one's going to be a volatile rate of return, of 10%, 12%. So what do you guys think? Let me ask it this way. What does the average American think would have the most money at the end of 15 years?
I would say the one with the rate of return that's the greatest.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The higher one, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, you think that it'd be the one with the highest rate of return, even when you break it and grow it, break it and grow it, and so forth. But that's the problem of impacts from losses. Let me share my screen here with you guys. This will be, I think, fun and interesting. So if I can pull up this and share screen real quick. Share. Tell me, Brandon, if you're able to share. There we go. All right.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so
you can't have a live without Mark sharing his screen. So.
That's right. That's right. So with this in view, hopefully you guys can see this. So we've got regular moments of memorable declines. Declines in the market. 1929 to 32. Dow was off 89%.
Whoa.
NASDAQ in 2000 to 2002, 78% decline. So the consistent gain would be incredible. If you could never lose money, you'd have had 900, almost 1,000% gain. But because we consistently lose money due to market downturns, then you're going to consistently underperform what the market offers you. That's one piece. Here's another piece that you might find interesting. This is, when the market takes a piece of your money, you have to earn more just to break even. So when you lose 10% in the market, you have to earn 11.1% just to scratch your way back to the top. Or if you lose 25%, which is, what happened in 2022, just 2 years ago, again, you'd have to earn a 33.3% return just to break even. So this is if the market takes money from you.
Yep.
This is if the market takes money from you. But what about if you take money from you? Well, once again, go ahead.
Can I ask a question on that? So whenever I'm talking to people and they'll bring up, Susie Orman says, if I put into a Roth $100 a month, it's going to be a bazillion dollars.
Right.
And they say that all the time. You see that. But what you just showed is there's a thing called volatility, like losing money.
Mm-hmm.
They don't account for that. Why do you think they don't? Or are they misleading people? Or is their math wrong? Or what's the deal? Because I hear this on TikTok and YouTube's all the time of, well, if you just put $100 a month into this, you're going to be a bazillionaire.
What do you guys think, Evan?
I think it is. They're maybe saying that because it's not against the law, and it probably should be. There's an argument there, but you can say that right now and not get in big trouble for it. It is indeed misleading, if you ask me. I have talked to other, really like professional financial planners and advisors who've been doing this for even 20 plus years, and I ask them, what do you think about like the volatility? How does that affect actual real averages? And they say it's not a big deal. It's the average. This is the average, and that it's just maybe they don't know. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. until proven otherwise. That could be the case as well. So
yeah, I was just curious because I really wanted to hit that because we were saying something different. And what I want to be able to say to my clients is, hey, regardless of ups and downs, I can get them into a really powerful position. Because in business or life, there's ups and downs. It's not up and to the right always.
Yeah.
So anyway, just wanted to share that.
Let's just bank on yourself.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Wealth is best suited when you never break the savings, and this is why I think there's a lot of myths around where to put money, where does it do the right thing, and where is it most effective for you. When do you actually see the most consistent growth? So no one thinks that the tin can would win. But if you regularly are pulling money out of the savings account and mutual funds, you're going to have more money in the tin can. It's the discipline of never taking money out of something and regularly setting it and forgetting it that wins the game. But we take that, and then we say, and I want a great rate of return. And so we put our money in the stock market or whatever, which, maybe we can be disciplined through what's called dollar cost averaging. And we're setting aside, in this example, $100 a month into a mutual fund. And we may not be taking money out. We may be dutifully putting money into our 401ks. We may never be a part of the population that takes a hardship withdrawal, but the market could take money from you too. And the market's withdrawals are just as painful, if not more so, than your own withdrawals against your own cash. Because again, volatility breaks compounding, and that destroys your wealth accumulating power.
Well, and at least, with taking it out of the lockbox or strong box or whatever, you can do something about that. If the market tanks, you just have to sit there and either wait it out.
Yep.
Keep dollar cost averaging down or whatever, and it's I've seen that happen time and time again. I've experienced that personally, and you feel trapped. So I don't like that feeling personally.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting. So there's a lot of infotainers out there that would love to tell you to do dollar cost. Can someone explain dollar cost averaging? Someone give me a quick example. What is that?
So I haven't done it very much, right? I most of my money is in our business and then in our policies, right? Mm-hmm. But it's buying low, selling high kind of idea, right? Buying.
Well, no, in the dollar cost averaging world, you're doing the opposite. You're just buying every month. You're just dollar cost averaging. It's just you're throwing $100 a month or whatever into that mutual fund. And here, let me share my screen. I'll show you what I mean here. By doing dollar cost averaging, you're buying every single month. And this is to avoid the behavioral problem of buying and selling at the wrong time. So, the financial advisors are wanting you to throw money in consistently so you don't mess up your own behavior, and so you're consistently adding to their assets under management fee. So it can nice and convenient, right? But now let's take a look at this. Let's pretend that the annual return of the stocks in the first year was 10%. Let's say again in year 2, you had a 10% return. Let's say in year 3, again, you now get a third year in the stock market where it gets exactly 10%. So we now have an average return for 2 years of 10%, right?
Yeah.
But let's say we have a negative year. After 3 years in a row of stocks going up at 10% a year, you feel like there'll probably be a pullback eventually, right? So a negative 10 in year 4 means your average, you still got 3 years at 10%, right? So, but wait, no, your average is now only 5% in year 4. You've had 3 years where you got 10% rate of return on your stocks, and you've been dutifully putting away $100 a month or whatever into your 401k, and your 401k balance is going up. But but we have one pullback of 10% in year 4, and that means our average for the entire project is now only 5%. We cut our average return in half in just one down year, in one down market. And by the way, it takes a 30% return to get back to an average return of 10%. Now, that becomes more and more unlikely the more volatility you experience. Do you think the market might have more than a 10% down in 1 year?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
10%'s an easy drop.
Mm-hmm. And what if you weren't just 5 years into your saving? What if you were 30 years into your 401k project and you're about to retire? What kind of rate of return would you need if you lost 30% of your money, which, again, a lot of people did in 2022. A lot of people were 64 years young in 2022, and they lost, if they had their money in the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ, they lost between 25 and 30% of their life savings in 1 year in 2022. And if they're 64 or 65 years old, they would need an incredible rate of return to break even with all of that money, and even higher rate of return to get an average back up to where they were before the downturn hit. So what am I saying? I'm saying dollar cost averaging is a total myth and should be avoided at all costs if it's going into a volatile asset. Now, I like regular savings in, regular dollar cost saving, let's say. I'm not a fan of dollar cost averaging. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Do you think, so as I look at like CNN and, you look at the market, there's fear and greed, right? And so then I think about this in people trying to make up for it. And so then they say, oh, well, I'm going to go do GameStop because it's way big. I need to make up for it. And so they do, which causes more problems, which causes inflation or whatever. And so we don't actually look at our full picture holistically, even as a society, to be able to say, is this actually helping us be better people, right? Because it's all fear and greed. And so maybe this dollar cost averaging, in order for somebody to win, somebody has to lose. And I'm like, well, I don't want to have losers around me.
Sure. Right.
I don't know. Just thinking about that and saying maybe the psychology is built in that way for, I don't know, the Wolf on Wall Street to keep making money.
Totally. Yep.
Definitely something to consider.
Evan, what are your thoughts on, as again, to overcome personal psychology limitations of buying at the wrong time, selling at the wrong time? Most average advisors would tell us to buy and hold, dollar cost average. I even hear people who are clients who are bank on yourself believers. They still sing from the choir of dollar cost averaging. Is that a myth? Am I totally off my rocker here?
Well, so based on this tin can thing, it sounds like maybe it's not all about the rate of return and dollar cost averaging and trying to save your bacon, on the way down.
Right.
That just, it's kind of like building the plane while it's flying. Not a great plan. And, maybe it's worked out for a few, but the vast majority of the time, even the professionals can't meet the 10% actual real 10% return on your investment. That says a lot, that even the best, and they can't do it consistently either. Maybe they do it for 1 year or a few years, but eventually somebody's going to drop the ball. And that loss, that 1 year, even just 1 year, you can see the effect it has. If you talk to a lot of super wealthy people, they're just happy whenever they don't lose money.
That's it, right?
And so I think as far as this goes, it's more important for you to not interrupt the growth by having a loss, even for just 1 year. I would say, and I bet the math would back it up, even a day or a week, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not even a
Well,
month.
that's exactly right. Economic winter comes every year.
Mhm.
There's actually a 14% drop on average temporarily throughout the year, every year since the inception of the stock market in the United States.
Hmm.
So, that's an abusive relationship, in my opinion.
Hmm.
If somebody stole 14% of your money out of your pocket every year, if you had a cousin who came to your house every Thanksgiving and went through your, sock drawer and stole
Yep.
14% of your money, would you keep inviting him back to Thanksgiving?
Pass.
You'd poison the gravy boat, and there's a bear market that hits every 3 to 5 years that loses people on average 34% of their life savings. So where is that okay? Tell me, what relationship in any other circumstance would you continue to abide by that kind of a relationship of abuse? And you're right. Compounding only works if you never lose money. So here's a picture and a chart of what I'm talking about. So, what we're looking at, there's a bunch of colors and pretty colors, but so let's look at 1965. The stock market has had an average return of 7% up through, well, here's today's date right here. And then if it continued at 7%, it would go all the way out to up here. So beautiful, right? This is the price of the S&P 500 index from the beginning all the way up through 100 years later. Okay, cool, right? So that's an average 7%. Well, how have we done? Well, we can look at the price of the S&P going all the way to today and where it might go into the future. And as you can see, the actual growth of $10,000, that's the blue color. And the promise of 7% rate of return is kind of that red color there. So blue is what people really actually get. Orange or red or whatever here is what they are promised. So we're promised this 7% average growth. Sock your money away in the 401k, sock your money away in your mutual fund. We're going to end up with a whole lot, actually half as much in this scenario. Here's the gap between the two down here.
Right.
So, for those that are regularly socking away in your 401k, please don't turn off the video. We've got some solutions. But again, the 2 rules and 1 goal for investing. Number 1, never buy high. Number 2, never sell low, with the goal of never losing money. And I would say dollar cost averaging absolutely fails the 2 rules and the 1 goal for money.
Well, and I was thinking about this as Warren Buffett and Mark Cuban, they have a lot of liquidity, access to cash, right? Emergency funds, if you will. Sometimes you might say that's ridiculously stupid that they have money in a tin can. However, I believe Mark Cuban's pretty smart. And he also says, and part of the problem is we put money into the market, we put money into this thing, trying to get a good rate of return. Emergencies happen. We don't have anything saved. So then we end up putting it on a credit card at 22%, not to mention the backdrop of the downturn. But then we have the 22% on the credit card fee because we needed to fix something, whatever it is. And I was reminded of Warren Buffett. He says, number 1 rule, never lose money, never forget. Rule number 2 is, or number 1 is rule number 2. And he picks businesses, not stocks, right? This is Warren Buffett. We have videos about him all the time. However, our system is about stocks. And we think that that's, we're just investing in other people's businesses. I'm like, that's why I don't have stocks, because I invest in my own business.
Right.
Because I'm trying to follow Warren Buffett here.
So what do we do instead? Like, if stocks may or may not, we may be disciplined, and I would not say that's a given, that we're going to have start and stop fits and starts with our own saving capacity. But even if we were rib rocked, socking away $100 a month for 70 years or something, and never took money out of our stock market account or savings account, the market itself could still vaporize our money, not to mention the tax man. So what do we do instead, Evan? What's in the bag?
I would say figure out a financial vehicle that can't lose and that always grows every single year and that has a proven track record and is backed by that track record of never losing money, which is what rule again? Rule number 1.
Yeah.
You know,
Always. That's the great way to do that is, the first rule is never to lose money. Then the second rule should be put your money in things that never lose money.
Right?
Seems obvious to me. Mr. Warren Buffett, please listen to this and update your rules.
So what is that financial vehicle?
Well, tell us, Evan. What is it?
I think that we're all talking about, bank on yourself type policies using
Not
high
Bitcoin?
cash value, dividend paying whole life insurance. Whole life insurance is a long traditional method that is kind of convoluted depending on who you talk to. But when designed properly and with the right insurance company, you can have a vehicle that grows with uninterrupted compounding growth that lasts as long as you do. It'll continue to grow and compound. What's neat when designed properly is it continues to grow even if you do need to use it for a rainy day or winter storm. You can still access it, unlike other financial vehicles out there. And what do they ask whenever you need that money? If you wanted to use it to buy a pool full of Jell-O, then they're going to ask you just the same 2 questions they ask everybody. How much do you want and where do you want us to put it? And as long as you have that amount available, they'll send it to you right when you need it. So there's no qualification process.
Evan, you've brought up some great points. So I want to tie in what we've been saying regarding the tin can. So you've just told us that bank on yourself eliminates the volatility from the externalities of the market.
Bingo.
So boom, 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 boom. That's, the market madness is not a factor when it comes to bank on yourself designed whole life insurance. What about the personal psychology side of things? The start and stop. I mean, we started this by saying a tin can will beat a mutual fund because you can't get the money out of there, but you just said that we can access the money in the policies. Does that break compound growth when we access money in our policies, or describe how or if this solves that problem?
No, what's really cool is pulling that money out. The design is set up with something called a non-direct recognition insurance company, and they don't view your policy loan as you taking from your cash value. It's a loan from the insurance company. So your cash value, it doesn't get touched. It continues to grow on the full amount as if you never took any money out. So when you pay back your policy loan, the cash value will have grown to the exact same amount it would have been even if you didn't touch it at all.
Now, what I like to tell people is as they borrow, if they do, which we have things in life that happen, right? Life happens whether we want it to or not, right? Emergencies, things like that, or opportunities. But like borrowing from it, and Nelson Nash says, don't steal the peas from your own grocery store. I like to tell people, as you're borrowing from it, it will be compounding. It will grow. It'll do its thing. However, kind of treat yourself like a mob boss, right? You're going to, a little bit, like make sure you're disciplined. Just like we would be, that Wall Street wants to make sure we're disciplined because they get the return. Let's make sure we're disciplined to ourselves because we want to have our life to the fullest, right? And that's the whole point of all of this is savings in a smart way, making sure that we win, not just you, or meaning the Wall Street, that we're winners in this game. And that's what I'm hoping we bring to our audience, So with all that, I know we have to cut it short today. Thanks, guys, for the technical difficulties. I know my magic host wasn't here today, who is a magician.
Yes, she is.
And probably has
Neely.
great technology skills because she's in your age group.
We missed you, Amanda.
These millennials, they know how to operate everything. So, so keep being awesome. As you guys are, make sure you are the master of your own financial ship. Reach out to us. We want to help you build the good foundation. And any closing remarks before we leave?
Well said, man. You know, I'll just cheer folks on. Don't just take this information, put it into practice.
That's right.
Awesome.
Cool. That's all I'd have to say as well. So yeah, appreciate you guys watching, and you know, feel free to reach out to any of us if you do have any questions. I'd be happy to help.
And don't forget, like, subscribe, and share this video.